First thing we want to talk about are the parts of the canoe and what's involved when you're out on the water, what needs to be in your canoe. So we'll just go through it relatively quickly. Obviously, we want the kids to understand that there's a stern in the bow, and it's pretty easy to tell the difference between the two. Obviously, where the seats are, there'd be a lot more room between the seat and the end of the canoe at the bow. The idea is the person to be in front of that seat. And of course, our stern is at the back. These are what we call our gunnels. All right, it's important the kids know that term and that they use them when, and you'll see when we do our beach entry or any entry into a canoe, they want to be holding on to the gunnels. All right, we do not want to see the kids standing upright in the canoe. All right, the thwarts are what run across the canoe to give it its strength, obviously. I don't want to see kids sitting on thwarts. That's not their intention or the purpose for them in the canoe, so we don't want anyone sitting on that part of the canoe, okay? Down the middle, and it's sometimes easier to see in some canoes, is what's called a keel line, okay? When it's important, keel line and gunnels, when we're getting kids to get in and out of canoes, we always want them walking on the keel line, staying low and holding on to the gunnels, all right? So in some canoes, it's really evident where the line is. It's in this one, you can somewhat see it. So again, when we do the beach entry, you'll see us and we'll talk about these terms: keel line, gunnels, thwarts, that sort of thing. As far as what goes in the canoe, all right, obviously when we are canoeing, we have our life jackets on, and they should be fit to proper size and weight for the kids. In our canoe, we also need to have a bailer. All right, all our bailers are on a rope and they should be tied in. You can just tie that to the thwart or to a seat. And we also need a throw rope for any case of someone falls out of the canoe or whatnot. Basically what we're doing with throw rope is we're taking the end of the rope, we're then throwing the bag, and the rope will unravel, and the idea is the bag will float, and if someone's in the water, they can grab onto the bag and be pulled in with the rope. So that has a clip, and these should be clipped on the canoe so all the kids know where they are and they know how to use them. Obviously, then you'll have your paddles for the amount of people in the canoe. Because you're not to be sitting on the seats, some will choose to have a towel or something they can kneel on, because the idea is you're supposed to be kneeling in front of your seat and just leaning back against it, which you'll see when we're in the canoe.
Now we're going to talk about the beach entry and exit with the canoe. First of all, obviously we're going to enter into the water from the beach. What we want to do is, first of all, let's put our paddles into the canoe. And obviously we want to tell the kids never to have them in the canoe when it's on land. It's just not good for the canoe, obviously, and there's no need for it. So I'm going to be from the stern, and Mr. Benko is going to be from the bow. So we're going to lift the canoe up and just place the bow into the water without dragging it. Good. So we're right down near the edge, and what then I'll do as the stern is I'm going to sit on the edge and put my knees on it to brace the canoe. When Mr. Benko gets in, he's going to walk down the keel line nice and low with his hands on the gunnels, right? We don't want kids standing up ever in a canoe. He gets down in front, kneels under, and he gets his paddle. Now, what I do from the stern is I'm going to get up. He's balancing now for us, and what I'm going to do is get one foot into the canoe and push off, holding the gunnels, and we drift away. We'll show you how to do an entry, or back to shore, I guess, an exit from the water. So basically the opposite. Now we're just going to try to hit our target, okay, coming in with some speed if we can. And then when we get close to the beach, what will happen is you'll see us, bow will lean back, and we're on shore. Mr. Benko puts his paddle in, he gets out, I'm bracing the canoe with my paddle, pulls it up a little bit, and he braces, and then I can make my way out, and then we can lift, pulling. First one we want to talk about is just your basic forward stroke or power stroke, people call it, and it's typically done by the person in the bow. Okay, when we are paddling, it's important that if the bow is paddling on the left, then the stern is paddling on the right. So we're on opposite sides, and ideally when we paddle, we'll start here right away, is we want to be in sync and keeping that rhythm. Now you see, Mr. Benko's job is to get up over the paddle and have a nice strong power stroke. We don't want to see kids sitting down. Okay, we'll show this quick. And you notice his bottom hand's way up on his paddle, and he's really not even getting the paddle in. There's no strength, and he's not really doing much there. That would cause little to happen, and if it's a windy day, there's going to be a lot of... So again, a good power stroke. Mr. Benko's right over top of the paddle. His bottom hand is down by the throat, which is right near the blade, almost getting into the water, and he's reaching forward and pulling back. Okay? That will help get that power to be able to move the canoe. Now, a couple of the basic strokes for the stern that are very important if we want them to be able to maneuver where they're going are the J stroke and the sweep. So we'll just turn around here. I'm just doing a reverse sweep. Mr. Benko's doing a sweep, and we can turn right around. First one I'm going to show is a J stroke, and basically what this will do is my paddle's going in and I'm turning, pushing water, or pushing away from the canoe. So if you think about it, if I'm pushing the canoe away, my stern is going to go out to the left, which would then mean I will turn to the right. So we'll paddle towards, okay, and if I do a couple simple J's, you see how easily I turn. The opposite of a J stroke would be a sweep, and a sweep comes from my hip to the back of the canoe, and you notice how easily that turns me the other way. So again, right now I'm doing a J, turning me to my right in this case, and then if I do a sweep, it turns me to my left. So again, when we're out with the kids, we want to make sure that we're all not running into each other and being able to maneuver. So again, I'm doing a sweep now to get turned, but if we're heading in a direction where we don't want to really be going, a check stroke is an easy way to stop us. We'll do that now. Okay. Basically, we're just putting our paddles in the water, and they're like the brakes. And you see how quick that can stop us. All right. And another thing is to teach kids is just a reverse stroke. So we're both going to just do a reverse, and we can go backwards. So it's easy to maneuver ourselves and stop ourselves if we get into a situation or a place we don't really want to go. We'll show how to laterally move the canoes. This would happen, maybe you're hooking up in the middle of the water, or you're trying to get to a dock and you want to move the canoes laterally. So again, we're on opposite sides in this case, and we're going to laterally try to move Mr. Benko to our right. So the two strokes that are going to be used here, I'm going to do a draw, meaning I'm pulling in, which is moving my stern that way. Mr. Benko is going to do a pry, which means he's pushing and moving the bow obviously the same way. So we'll show it with a recovery out of water, and then we'll show it with a recovery in. So first, here we go. So my draw, I'm pulling towards my hip, and again we're trying to keep it in rhythm, and we're just moving mostly laterally. Now we'll straighten out here again. I don't typically do a draw that way where I'm recovering out of the water. What I like to do, and we'll show it here, the recovery's in the water. So basically we're turning our paddle to cut through the water, and then we can do our stroke again. So I'll show the draw, and Mr. Benko will show the pry with our recovery in water. Okay, here we go. So you can see we can move the canoe sideways. If we want to go the opposite direction, Mr. Benko can do a draw and I do a pry. Same thing if we want to turn on the spot. If Mr. Benko did a sweep and I do a reverse sweep, okay, go ahead. We're going to turn in a 360. We're not really going anywhere, but we're just working opposite of each other to make a turn. Now, without changing sides, we can go the other direction. Now I'm going to do a regular sweep. Mr. Benko is going to do a reverse sweep. So we're really working off each other to maneuver the canoe. Look at that beauty. As a stern, it's a lot like driving a car, so I'm just going to do a reverse and we'll get turned around here. Just go ahead still. I have to look ahead and see what's coming while I'm paddling, okay? Because water, I mean, we could get lost on the water as to where we are, and if we just try to think of what stroke I do next, we can run into issues. For example, if I want to steer towards the end of this dock and it's windy, I might have to throw a sweep in every once in a while just to stay straight. I need to look out where I'm going and then determine what strokes I use. I will never just do power stroke, power stroke, power stroke. Like right now, if I want to head to that rock, I just threw in a J there. Now in a power stroke, and I need another J, and it could depend on who you're paddling with. So you always are using different strokes to keep the canoe straight. We'll turn around here. So I'm doing a reverse sweep. Mr. Benko just is doing a sweep, and it's that easy to turn us around again. So again, showing it, coming in, if I want to keep going in one direction, I may have to tweak it with a sweep once in a while or a J once in a while. But my rhythm doesn't change, okay? And I should be able to keep that canoe going dead straight because I'm looking out past the canoe. It's like a good driver doesn't look just past their bumper. They're looking down the road to see what's up ahead of them so they can maneuver properly and be safe. Well, the same thing goes in the canoes, okay? Having the proper strokes in the stern are very important to make this an enjoyable experience.